everybody out there in YouTube land. Thank you for joining us, and a very happy new year to one and all, and a happy new year to Gaia for joining us for a very special forecast looking ahead at 2022. Welcome, Gaia.
Thank you, Kesenya. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to every one of you out there listening and watching. And thank you so much for those who have been putting their trust in me with readings. And I hope to see you and more of you in 2022. Hopefully we can spend the year together in a way.
How beautiful. I'm sure you'll have many new clients in 2022. And speaking of 2022, we are all itching to know, I'm itching to know, what is in store for us for 2022. We're all so delighted to leave 2021 behind and say goodbye to that energy. We want a whole fresh new energy for this year. So Gaia, you have the word, go for it. What are we looking forward to in this year?
Yeah, so with Kesenya, we have decided to have a look at the financial energy of 2022. So what I've done is that I've pulled up a chart, a horary chart, for the moment when Kesenya and we decided to discuss this topic. And I am going to read that chart. And that chart is going to give...
I was just going to interrupt and say, do you want me to pop the chart up on the screen for everybody to have a look at, Gaia?
If you wish, you can, of course.
Yeah.
So generally, as you probably know, Horary is used to answer very specific questions, not broad ones, such as this one. But I feel like I can do that because... well, first of all, the chart is radical, and I'll tell you why. And second of all, I feel like the topic is narrow enough, and it's the mundane. So you don't really need to be incredibly specific because we are talking about global energies. I'm not talking about a person-specific life situation. So let's start by saying why this chart is very radical, actually. So the ascendant is in Capricorn, and the ruler of the hour is Saturn. So when the ruler of the ascendant and the ruler of the hour are the same, this chart is very much giving us the green light to go ahead and read it. So the first signal, the first sign I see in this chart, and it's very interesting, is that it is a late chart. Late chart because the ascendant is at 27. So when we have the ascendant at 27, 28, or 29 of each sign, it's considered to be a late chart. And to sum it up, it indicates like you could sum it up with the famous sentence, les jeux sont faits. So games are done, like it's game over, basically.
Okay. So that's, to me, with my limited understanding, that it seems to be that those two phrases have a different meaning. It's game over, like we're done with 2021 energy and that's out the door now, or it's game over as in we're done for, you know. So which one are you talking about there, Kate?
I feel like it's like the match has been played, and we have the results already. So I'm gonna give you this information, and everyone can do what they want with this information. But when we have a late chart, it means that things have already been decided. So there is not much free will in a way when it comes to the events. And I'm not talking about your personal events, of course, but I'm talking about the global energies. It's like, especially because it's Capricorn. Capricorn is one of the fated signs. We do have free will signs and we have fated signs. So we have a late chart with the ascendant in a fated sign. So yeah, there is a chance that things have already been written down and pre-decided. Now let's move on.
I want to ask, who's made the decisions? Who has decided what the fate is going to be? You probably can't see it.
The Capricorn.
Yeah, no, I know that in the chart, but I'm talking out in the mundane world, you know.
All that is Capricorn. So
all the hierarchies.
The hierarchy, the authorities. Capricorn is talking about governments. So Capricorn is older people as well. So here you have it.
Yep, does it all.
And I'm sure your moon with Aquarius, with the Uranus is like having the time of her life because.
Oh, no, we are not.
Yeah.
You can read me very well there, Gaia.
Yes. So, if you look at Saturn, which is the ruler of the ascendant, it's very strong. So it's hard to sway that Saturn. Like, honestly, I really find it hard to see someone who's gonna sway that Saturn, because there's no planet which puts Saturn down anyway, because we have no planet in Cancer, we have no planet in Leo, we have no planets in Libra in this chart. Sorry, not Libra, Aries, pardon me. So yeah, with this very good news, let's move on. We look at the moon next, because the moon is the people, and the moon is in Pisces. We said we're gonna talk about the finances, and so we can look at the second house, which is in Pisces, and there is Neptune on the cusp of the second house. The ideal orb would be 3 degrees. Here it's 4, but because we have so much Piscean energy, I feel like it all heads up to indicate the Piscean vibe. It's not really important that it's Neptune within 3 or 4 degrees, but if you put it all together, just confirming a huge, massive Piscean wave.
Okay.
So the moon is still in the first house, but it's moving toward the second, almost there. Yeah. So just to remind everyone, in Horary Astrology, we use Regiomontanus house system, and the outer planets are not used as rulerships for the signs Scorpio, Aquarius, and Pisces as rulers for those signs. So having the moon in Pisces, like, what are the people thinking of? Well, people, as in the masses, even though it's not a word that I like, but still, that's the word we have. So the energy of the people is geared toward Jupiter. And the houses that Jupiter is ruling, and those are, look at that, the second house. Yes. So we are really, as people, concentrating and putting our energies and our desires on money.
Interesting. Okay.
And I guess it does make sense, because we are coming from a place where, you know, money hasn't been very much present.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So people are starting to get very needy for those resources. Yeah.
Yeah, because we are human beings, so we can be spiritual, but we do need money to sustain ourselves, you know.
Yeah, so practical. Yeah.
Yes. So I feel like this is something to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah.
And something that I want to say is, having the moon in the first/second, and with so much Pisces and Neptune, like, I guess it can go 2 ways. Like, we have 2 options. Either there is a lot of charity and solidarity, or the shadow could be licking your own wounds, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So
could it be, Gaia, that people are looking for a savior, like the yes. Pisces? Yeah, the Pisces energy is that sort of looking outside ourselves for someone to rescue us.
Yeah, the Piscean energy represents this kind of, I call it power triangle of the victim, the savior, and the perpetrator. Yes. Because you go from those 3 points, those 3 roles, And it could be that especially those who are working on the lower vibrations, and there are people who are working on the lower vibrations, especially when we are doing such broad horoscopes, which are supposed to encompass masses of people. So there could be this kind of power dynamic, and the people that are waiting to be saved, or people who are just basking in a way in their own misery. And I'm talking about emotional, psychological misery. So creating this atmosphere of being the victim and like whining in a way. So yeah, it's human. We can all fall a little bit into this kind of trap, but most people are able to remind themselves to get out and kind of help other people or do something for the common good, and they kind of get out of this trap. So when it comes to how much money we can have in 2022, I would look at how is Jupiter doing. And Jupiter is initially doing not so well, and then it improves massively. So Jupiter is in Aquarius, and it's at 26, so it's kind of finishing its journey through Aquarius. It's still a peregrine planet because it has no dignity in an angular house, and those are called thief planets, as if they are a waste, they are stealing in a way.
Okay.
So this is not indicating that we have money at the beginning of the year. We are just barely making the end of the month. And of course, this is not valuable for everyone because there are people who have money, but the energy is the energy of the sailor in mid-ocean, which is trying to grab a lifeline.
Right.
Because it's a peregrine planet, it's the wanderer, and it's mid-ocean, right? And because it's a fifth planet, I guess if we are talking about the really lowest energies, maybe we can find more scams in the beginning of the year, and thefts of money, whether it is electronic or not. Especially with this so much Pisces as well. Pisces is a sign which is easily swayed, and easily taken advantage of.
Easily deceived,
Yes. So just watch out for, those scams out there. Be watchful of where you put your money, because especially for the first month, basically, I would advise you to do so. Then Jupiter is entering Pisces, so it gets to rulership. So it means that our money is improving. We feel better. We have more money, and that's pretty much about it when it comes to Jupiter. It enters Pisces. It's Pisces. It's still in the first house, so it becomes very powerful.
So at what point do you think in 2022 that shift will happen for people to sort of go into more powerful situation with money?
I feel like because we have a fixed planet, which is Jupiter, in angular house, so it's the medium length. So it's like the 1 month, 4 weeks, and then we can see already improvements.
Great.
So January, January appears to be a little bit difficult. And then we kind of see the first improvements.
Fantastic. I can't help but notice, Gaia, and this is with my evolutionary astrology lens on, not horary astrology, but it sticks out to me here that Jupiter is making a T-square with the nodes at this time.
Yes.
And that in evolutionary astrology does indicate a lot of karma around the things Jupiter represents. And it's known as a skipped step in evolutionary astrology, which means we have some karmic lesson to learn as an Earth, I suppose, people on Earth, with regard to Jupiter themes, having meaning, having purpose, having, a solid ethical destiny. So there's a bit of karma playing out here, I would say. It is not horary, not horary at all, but
but it's valid, because here again we are talking about global things.
Yes.
So it's much broader than the simple, quote unquote simple personal horary chart.
I'm glad you clarified that, because it's certainly not simple.
And also this aspect with the notes is applying, so it means that we still have to deal with that. It's not over, it's not separating, it's applying. So we are running into that.
Yes.
So it's like a life lesson to learn in 2022. And it's applying, guys. So what Kesenya said, it's gonna get more intense, because applying aspects, they get more intense because they reach a point when they are exact.
And you're judging that by Jupiter applying to the North Node, is that what you are? Yeah,
it's applying to both the nodes, because the nodes are on axis, so they are always opposite each other on the same degree. So Jupiter is actually applying to both of the nodes. So the trigger of push and pull is gonna be more intense till it reaches perfection, which means the aspect is exact. Yes, exact.
Yep. Very, very interesting. So thank you for letting me diverge a little there with a bit of different astrology. So
that is a pleasure. So another thing that I found interesting is that we have an intercepted sign on the second house, which is Aries. But the thing is that when we have intercepted signs in Horary, it indicates two sides to a situation, and third party intervention, and hidden things and secrets.
And does any of this come as a surprise? Not really.
I don't think so. Really?
Not at all. Carry on. This is fascinating.
And of course, there can be many interpretations to this. It could indicate maybe that a third party is putting money in because we need money. It could indicate that there are hidden sources of money that we cannot have access to because they are blocked, they are locked in. It's intercepted, so they're locked in. And those sources of money are not weak. They are not a small amount, because Mars is in great dignity in Scorpio.
Yeah, you're just explaiing exactly what I feel is going on right now. So it's confirming everything. The astrology never lies.
No. And it's the end of the sign. So the good thing is that at one point, those sources of money will not be that powerful anymore, because Mars in Sagittarius doesn't have any particular dignity. I mean, it has some dignity in term, but it's not as powerful as the rulership and the triplicity that it has in Scorpio. It's much less. And this Mars, the other reason why I say there is this amount of money, there is this source of money that is not available to us, is because Mars puts the moon down. The moon is the people. And if you see, the moon is putting Mars in triplicity, meaning that we would like to have access, basically. But the Mars putting the moon down is like, this is not for the people. It's not available for the people.
Yes. Yes, but I'm very encouraged to hear you say that their power will diminish a little bit as the
Yeah,
year
it will,
goes on.
because as you know, Mars in Scorpio doesn't, in Sagittarius doesn't really have much. Mars in Sagittarius doesn't really have much power. And look at where this Mars is in the 10th house.
Yeah.
Which the 10th house is associated with the governments.
Yes. Yes. And Scorpio, hidden things. Yes.
Yes. And if you want to look at Scorpio, so you can see the banking system.
Yeah.
So I guess you people aren't really surprised. It's just a confirmation that astrology does work.
Yes. So you see this money behind the scenes as being the banking system, not the big pharma, big at all?
You mean the industries?
The big
the big companies?
Pharmaceutical.
Sorry, pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
The pharmaceutical, I do see that, but not in Scorpio. I see that with the Jupiter associated with money entering Pisces.
Right. Okay.
So if you, and also the cusp of the second in Pisces with Neptune, which represents drugs.
Yes. Yes.
And Neptune is associated with some all sorts of lab products.
Yes. I'm glad you phrased them like that. Yes.
So having this with the second house indicates that those are sources of money
for the companies, or
for Jupiter itself, basically, because Jupiter, when it enters Pisces, it's in rulership, so Jupiter serves Jupiter the most.
Right.
So they serve themselves.
Yeah, no kidding. So so the
yeah.
Mars is representing the government, no, the banks, and the money for the banks that's sort of fueling everything behind the scenes.
Yeah, the Mars is just this hidden source of money that we as mere people aren't allowed to have access to.
Yeah. Okay.
And I said that it comes from the 10th house because Mars is in the 10th house. So literally this money are in the 10th house.
Yes.
So the institutions.
Yes.
And it could indicate, again, the government, but it can also indicate, because it is Scorpio, the financial sectors. So financial includes banks, insurances, and also the big investors, because that Scorpio is the money of other people.
Yes.
And Jupiter is ruling in this chart, and because I want to look at it just because I said that Jupiter serves himself the most when it enters Pisces. Well, first thing first, now Jupiter is serving Saturn, which is, again, the old authority. And Jupiter, when it enters Pisces, it serves himself the most. So it's also the 11th house and the 12th house. So if you want to look at those houses in terms of economics, in terms of sectors of production, the 12th house is another, if we needed any, confirmation of the Piscean energy. So again, it can be the pharmaceutical industry. Yes, indeed. And the 11th house, if we want to look at what does the 11th house produce, it's profits. Generally talks about the profits because it's the second from the 10th. Yes. Yes, the gains of the 10th house. Yes. Yes. So it's, in a way, even in Horary it does not, but in general the 11th house can be associated with the gains of the investments, basically. Especially in Horary, the 11th house represents the profit you make from the 10th house. Yes. The 10th house is either your salary, or if you look at investment charts, you use the 10th house when you're looking at currency, and bonds, because especially the bonds which are emanated, issued by the governments, so state bonds basically.
Right. Okay.
Interesting.
So the 11th house is also friendships and communities, isn't it not? Alternative communities and bottom up.
Yeah, I feel like those people, yes, it's true. I feel like those communities, those people and friends, they can have an important role just in supporting, because Jupiter is in a way serving them as well. So
right, good to hear.
if you have if some people who are watching us have an association like those not-for-profit things, or they have some kind of community that needs funding, I guess this year you can ask the request for funding. I mean, if you have to do it here in 2022.
Yeah. After February, when Jupiter's in Pisces. Yes.
I mean, Jupiter enters Pisces even before we finish this year, but I do see the first month, it needs a little bit of time to settle down the situation.
Yes.
So the last thing that I want to look at is the fact that we have a little bit of problem with Mercury.
Right.
Because Mercury is combust.
Yes.
At the moment, so it's hidden by the sun. And also when Jupiter enters Pisces, Mercury will be put in detrimental fall. So it's like the planet that probably is doing the worst.
Yes, is Mercury.
Yeah. And we do have Venus putting down the money, because Venus is in Capricorn and Capricorn puts Jupiter in fall.
Right.
So I'm just briefly tell you about Mercury. Mercury, I feel like, is impacting more the sectors of the 5th and 6th house.
Right.
So the 5th house kind of production and sectors are not going to do very well, honestly. And the 5th house is the entertainment.
Okay.
It's games. And I would associate it with celebrations, ceremonies, parties, and with oh my God, it skipped away from my mind. I had the word there. Oh, lux.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
So those sectors may find some issues over there. And well, I feel like the 6th house, honestly, it's not going to be that much of a problem, because it's kind of balanced by the 12th.
Well, that's good news. That's
but maybe the 6th house could be associated with retail, and that could find I think we will still have problems for the retail shops, because maybe the online still continues to dominate.
Okay.
Because the 6th house is sicknesses, but it's also talking about the daily life. Yeah. And I feel like retaliation sales can be associated with the 6th house.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I'm interested in the 6th house from a perspective of poverty and disbalance in that way. And if the 6th house is not too diminished, then I would assume that means we're not going to see a massive plunge into poverty, which would be good, I think, things considered.
Yeah, I think when Mercury gets out of combustion, gonna be better. And Mercury gets out of combustion, let me make the calculation. It's at 24. Sun is at 18, so they are 6 degrees apart, so 2 more degrees, and then they are out, and then Mercury is out. So it's not going to be very long time. It's like 2 months basically.
Right. So
and
what
then
you're
things get better.
So what you're saying is that things look pretty much the same or tough until sort of February, March, April, and things then start to improve
March,
financially in the world.
Yeah. Yes, I feel like March is a good month to see some shifts.
Yes.
And the only thing that I want to mention last is this Venus, which is putting Jupiter down. So Venus putting the money down.
Mm-hmm.
So Venus rules in this chart the 3rd house, that is Taurus. And when it comes to the Libra, the Libra is intercepted in the 8th.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what is that is putting the money down? So what is something that I wouldn't really place money on because it puts literally it down. So the 3rd house, and the 3rd house indicates, when it comes to the more economical side, of course it indicates neighborhood, but it doesn't really fit the picture. The 3rd house can indicate vehicles. So if you had to buy a car, I would kind of be watchful.
Yes.
And the 8th house is loans and mortgages and joint finances and inheritances. So if you are dealing with any of those options, again, I would advise you to be very careful, because there is a chance that those may, in a way or another, bring you to lose money for some reason.
So if possible, avoid taking out loans next year.
Yeah, if possible, because I see the interceptive ruler of the 8th putting it down, putting your money down. And because it's a conjunction, we can talk about it. I mean, we can mention it, we can consider it. Venus is with Pluto in this chart.
Yes.
And Venus, this cycle, this time, is gonna grace us by touching Pluto 3 times.
Yes, I know.
Because one time apparently it's not enough. And Pluto, Pluto is just confirming the 8th house themes, because they are associated to Pluto is associated to the 8th house. So
are we looking at destruction and rebuilding here? Is that the theme that we're seeing quite a bit? Yeah,
but also the themes of the loans, the banks, the hidden resources, the hidden accumulated resources, which we mentioned before. Pluto is indicating, because it's with Venus, and Venus, it's just, and Pluto puts the money down as well, because Pluto is in Capricorn. So we don't even need to kind of bring Venus in the picture, because Pluto's already putting the money down, because Pluto's in Capricorn. So the Pluto related economical areas, again, are going to put the money down. So I wouldn't put my money on that. And the moon is in Pisces, and the moon is putting Jupiter in rulership. So businesses associated with moon may actually improve your finances. So that would be the real estate.
Right.
And interestingly enough, restaurants and hotellery,
Yep, hospitality industries, yeah. Okay.
Hospitality, yes. And so I guess it makes sense, because they are slowly reopening and people are really wanting to kind of go back to this sort of life.
Yeah.
So I hope that this is going to manifest.
Oh, me too. Me too. Well, that's encouraging to hear that. So people shouldn't be taking out loans, but yet real estate's going to do okay. So
yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to sell, like, do it.
But do you see any indicator in this chart that people should be trying to get out of debt as quickly as possible here?
I mean, like, debt is never a nice situation to be in, because it's
not.
It's associated to the 8th house, because it's like I owe money to someone else.
Yes, yes.
And every time the eighth house is in place, anything can happen, because the eighth house, like, it's not a stable house, even though it's a succeeding house associated with a fixed sign. The eighth house is not stable at all. So in general, and the eighth house here is actually ruled by Mercury,
a mutable,
which again,
mutable planet, or mutable ruling planet.
Yeah, and in this chart, the Mercury, as we said it before, is not placed well, because it's in Sagittarius, where it's in detriment. It's still combust, and when it enters Capricorn, because Mercury is wrapping up the journey in Sagittarius, so we can consider Mercury end of sign, 6 degrees, and then it's in Capricorn.
Yes.
So you can consider the 6 months time frame. When Mercury enters Capricorn, basically it's going to put Jupiter down.
Right. So we were talking,
the money down.
We were talking before about Jupiter by that stage representing his own interest in big pharma and big pharmacy, pharmaceutical companies and drug administration and that sort of thing. So might there be a change in that situation when Mercury moves into Capricorn?
Yeah, it's going to put them down, but it's also going to put our money down, because the second house is also our money. So having the rule of the eighth, putting our money down, is just confirming that, honestly, if possible, I would avoid this year the loans, the borrowing money.
Great.
Because it's not really looking nice.
Yeah, good.
I mean,
good to know.
Those people who do this for a job, like for a living, I feel like the first 6 months of the year, they will have profit, because Mercury is putting Jupiter in rulership. So probably the interest rates will be higher and they're gonna take profit. But after Mercury enters Capricorn, the profits start regularly, steadily decreasing.
Okay. And that's for the banks.
The second part of the year, yeah.
Us, yes. Okay, everybody. Okay, so all right, very good. I won't be taking out a loan then.
I don't think you were planning.
No, I wasn't planning to anyway. But that's very, very interesting to know.
Yeah,
and it is,
that's my analysis.
Yeah,
and
it is such a volatile energy that you're describing here, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in just acting with caution, and maybe that's
the Capricorn talking.
Capricorn ascendant. That's what I was just going to say. It's Capricorn ascendant here, so being precautious and serious about things and conservative about what we do, and maybe even a little bit stingy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, fascinating, Gaia.
Yeah, do you have something to add?
Well, I've probably added my little bits and pieces as we've gone along, and what I see. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not the expert in horary that you are. So I'm always very inspired when we discuss something, or when you've done a reading for me, because I learn so much about the Horary astrology system, and it's fascinating. The only thing I would see, and this is not horary again, but is that Pluto-Venus conjunction is actually forming a wedge to the Mars and nodal oppositions there. So in everyday astrology, in personal astrology, we would see that as the way out. So there's some energy related to Pluto conjunct Venus that is providing a way out of maybe the karma, maybe the Mars energy there, which could be the frustration. So, the positive attributes, I guess, of Venus and Pluto together might be giving us some means for hope, would be how I might interpret that energy. But again, that's coming from a very different analysis point of view than what we would use for.
But I guess we have a lot of stuff to let go, because if you put the second house and the eighth house, like Venus, you're associated with Taurus, second house, and Pluto, the eighth house, like what's mine and what's yours. And if you put them together, it's all about, and we have the South Node in the picture as well, and the North Node. So it's, I guess it's a lot of things to like go here.
Yes, there is. And that's actually a really good point, because I think what's happening big picture is that we're and this is Venus Pluto, we're tearing down an old monetary system and an old way of doing things, and absolutely demolishing it, which is what Pluto energy does. And then we're going to rebuild something new and something better. And so when I see that wedge shape and I'm looking at things big picture here, I think, you know, it's going to feel crappy and it's going to feel difficult for a while, but the ultimate result, and you know, is going to be a rebuilding here that could be quite positive because of that sextile to Mars and the South Node and the trine to the North Node there. So there's definitely karma, and there's definitely this is how I would interpret it, there's definitely a rebuilding and a repurposing and a revamping of our finances, and maybe even how we see other Venusian things, how we love ourselves, how we love one another, how we love the planet. Venus is, you know, governs Taurus and nature. So we're entering a brand new phase, I see there. But again, I like your ability to see the time frames through what you've described here, and when we might see some shifts, when we might see some changes, and where to not put our money.
I feel like there is a huge potential to make this transformation, because the ruler of Venus and Pluto is Saturn, and Saturn is strong. So if there is one way to use this Saturn, this potential of such a strong Saturn for a positive outcome, like let's go for it.
And Saturn is restructuring or creating new structures and foundations, and so, you know, I'm always looking for the hope, as are you.
Yes.
That's what we like to look for in the chart. So I feel that will be hopeful, but there's a lot, obviously, of muck and mire, Pluto stuff, to release and let go of first before that happens. So very, very interesting. I'm going to stop the share now and go back to you and I.
Yes.
Okay. And Gaia, it's just always so wonderful to hear your interpretations and watch you in action.
Thanks.
It's so impressive. Thank you for researching that for us and for looking into the finances. Is there any sort of summary perhaps that you want to give about, you know, the 2022 and what it's going to be like financially?
Well, I just want to say that, again, I don't see that the money will be as tragic as it has been. Just pay attention the first month of the year to the scams, because with Jupiter there being a fifth planet, I would watch out for that. And after that, again, the businesses that can flourish are those associated with the moon. So to my mind now has come even food.
Yes.
So
gardening, farming, growing
farming, homemade things.
Exactly right. Or childcare. I like that. I love moon-based businesses, actually. In fact, Cancer and the moon energy are usually associated with people who are really good business people, good at running their own businesses. And the simple reason is because Cancer and the moon are nurturing energies, and that's what we do when we run our own business. We nurture something, and the word nurturance can get a bit confused because of its association with childbearing and children and so on. But really, to nurture something is to take it from its infancy, its inception, and grow it to its maturity. So that can be a business that you get an idea for in the shower one morning, and you grow it to its fulfillment 20 years later and sell it on the stock exchange for $100 million. So you've taken it from its inception to its fullness. That's nurturing something. So Cancer moon people are brilliant at growing new businesses and making them flourish. And so we could see a lot of potentially that sort of thing coming out of this period as well, new businesses and small businesses and so forth that really start to flourish, perhaps.
Yes. I think we did an amazing analysis, a combined effort. And I hope people will find it inspirational and something they can rely upon for some guidance.
Absolutely, Gaia, absolutely. And speaking of relying on people for guidance, if you would like a reading with Gaia, then head over to the astrology readings page at Guiding Star Astrology. The link is in the description below, and book your reading with Gaia now to answer all your personal questions that you might have about what's going on in your life. And if you want to leave a comment below on a world event or a world situation for Gaia to analyze and do a video on, then do that. Pop it in the comments section for Gaia, and we look forward to sharing more videos with you in 2022 all about what's going on in the world in mundane astrology. So thank you everyone for joining us, and a big thank you, Gaia, for sharing your wonderful wisdom once again.
Thanks, Kesenya. See you guys very soon, hopefully.
Very soon. And Happy New Year to you, Gaia, and to everybody.
Thanks. Happy New Year to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.